Hello and welcome back, everyone. Today we're continuing our Finland run. Last episode, a couple significant things happened. One, we kind of showcased how to implode India very, very consistently, and you can do this with basically no military power, actually no military power. We get the vroom vroom outside to intro the episode. And also, we managed to acquire a French army. You see, we're playing as, Finland here, but of course we have French skirmish infantry that are from in the definitely not French army in Poitou-Saintonge. We have some in Burgundy, and as you may notice, we don't control these states. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I know what you might be saying. Generalist, that is very clearly a bug. No, that is not a bug. That's just the power of friendship. You may notice we have this Finnish-French Friendship Committee, and we will use the power of friendship to, we hope, maybe this episode, fight Prussia in order to free Sweden so they can join the Friendship Committee. And by join the Friendship Committee, I mean we do want to, of course, form Scandinavia, and currently we're being blocked by Prussia, having Sweden as a subject, so we do want to be getting on that. Now that we are no longer concerned with decaying our prestige down below kind of the minimum threshold, because if you are a major power and then you become a minor power, you will lose your block, I think we're going to form our own block, and we will, of course, name it the Friendship Committee. We do love the Friendship Committee. We do have, this guy and, of course, his friend. They're friends. And then we have, we decided to use the Khmer as our hero, because the more arms you have, the more hugs you'll be able to give. And we're going to make it a trade league with external trade, because we do want to be friends with everyone, and so we will form this power block. This, of course, does upset a lot of people, because a lot of people, they just don't like friendship, but you know what? We're about that life, and so we will form the Friendship Committee. Our first order of business is going after India. We're doing this primarily for resources. You may call this colonialism. We call it friendship. They have a lot of resources, and they're very, very cheap on the infamy. Notably, we're going after Sind, which was the inheritor of Andhara, which is one of the very few places that has both iron and coal. We are going after vassalizing this. Now, we have to be a little bit careful, because we're starting to get to the point where our subjects are kind of bigger than us, so that's going to be a little bit of a vibe. But also what we got going on is we're just defending here, because this isn't the capital right here. We're hoping that they move some sort of stack off of here to defend, but it doesn't look like they're going to do it, and they do have somewhat reasonable tech, because they of course inherited the EIC, or wait, Sind won't have the EIC's tech. Maybe they don't have the EIC tech. I was a little bit worried that we would not be able to... Wait, what? Has the power of friendship failed us? Why did we get 0 guys in that battle? Hold the phone. Is these definitely not a French army? Definitely not a friend? Alright, Portugal's out. But I think that we might have lost our friendship. Why do we have no armies? Definitely not a French army. No, not like this. We've lost our friends. We only have the Finnish and the Swedes. Where are the French? Where'd you go? Maybe we just can't use them for landings. We used them for a landing before, though. Not like this. The power of friendship has failed us. This is terrible. Our friends, they call for aid, except they haven't called for aid yet, but we can offer aid. And not only can we offer aid to dear France, who's changed flags yet again, they changed flags like clothes, what we can do is we can offer it for a bankroll, which, as everyone knows, is once you bankroll, you just pop off super, super hard, and so this is where the fun begins. Also, I'm hoping that our definitely not a French army, which, by the way, has lost troops. There has been deserters from the definitely not French army. I'm hoping the way it's working is if France actually mobilizes their troops, then the definitely not a French army will actually have troops, and we will send them back to France to definitely help France with the definitely not a French army that is led by mostly French troops. But it's not French. Don't get it twisted. Okay, so it seems like the definitely not a French army fighting of France with half the troops it had at the start of the episode, big sad. Some of this is actually just, they went over to the revolts, because Burgundy was where a lot of the troops were, but anyways, they revolted away. They couldn't stand the power of friendship, but they do appear to be fighting in this war now, or we seem to have been able to activate them. So it does seem to be the case that France has to decide to mobilize the army, and they won't mobilize the army unless they, for whatever reason, concurrently with us mobilizing an army, they have a strategic reason to mobilize, which is a very interesting situation. So even though we can control where these battalions go, we can't control when they mobilize. Now, we do have Finnish troops inside this, definitely not a French army, which is why it's not French. We do have the 1 infantry and the 1 cavalry, and this is what gives us, or gave us control over it, I guess. But it does seem like we can actually fight here. France also had the brilliant idea of siding in against the UK, so this is actually maybe something that is going to go poorly for them. I think it was a defensive pact with Johor. They should have just minded their own business, I think, because of what's going on here, but we'll be in for a little bit of a rumble. I think that this French Revolution, yet another revolution, will be good for us. We are continuing to declare down here, and we are going to push into Nagpur next. I didn't even realize we're fighting Travancore, but we are about to enforce on Sindh here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to land over here in Madras. Now, unfortunately, they are not going to have market access, but we might go for Mysore as well, and look to acquire market access. Each one of these guys, you know, is costing like 10 infamy, but 10 infamy for us to get, you know, Nagpur or whatever, the amount of pops they have is 25 million, and then domestically, they do have closed borders, but we can ask them to swap off of it. It's possible we should have gone ideological union to make this easier, and ideological union maybe would have been better for friendship. We are having trouble getting cohesion, which normally you never have trouble with the trade league, but since so much of our stuff is actually external, you know, in our subjects they're very large relative to us, we do have this problem. So we're not generating mandate very quickly. We probably should not have even formed the block to begin with. That way it would have been easier to play nice with the GPs. We're also abusing a mechanic here that doesn't come up too often, which is that if you know someone is in the middle of a rev and you know they're going to win that rev, you can declare war on them for much less infamy. So right now, Mysore Liberal Revolt here, they are not going to get calculated or as part of the infamy cost, but eventually Mysore is going to beat this Mysore Liberal Revolt, because this Liberal Revolt cannot reach Mysore at all because of obviously the weird breaking up, and so what's going to happen is eventually they will just get auto-ticked down below 0 and reintegrated into Mysore. We see this also happen with the Nagpuri Aristocratic Revolt, where we declared war on Nagpur after that, and also this will be critical or kind of nice for us to get this pickup in Mysore, because then this area of Nagpur will have market access, and so we're going to go for this, and it's just going to cost us 6 infamy to subjugate the Mysore, and Mysore is really not a lot of, or it's really a lot of pops anyways, so this is 15 million, so 6 infamy to subjugate 15 million, but on top of this, we are going to get everyone who's over here as well, in central India, which is an additional 10 million pops, into our market. So it's like we're recreating the EIC, slowly but surely. If we take a look at the Friendship Committee's market, we will see that it is starting to expand, being part of, oh, well, it says Finnish market, but it means Friendship Committee market. Now, we do have to go after Orissa too, but we will be able to snake through this. I suppose it will take us resolving these wars, but eventually we will reach in there, and that will be good for us. We do just barely pip into being a great power, which was a little annoying because now we have access to way less influence because we lose a bunch of eligibility on rivals. Also, something I wanted to point out, because we have been talking about investment a bit this run, is we are on laissez-faire, and so one of the things that we wish we could increase, as it relates to our power block, is we wish we could increase, the people who have the lowest economic dependence. We wish we could increase their economic dependence by building in their country. However, since we're on laissez-faire, we really don't want to build in their country, because if you build government shares in someone else's country, that country will just buy it up, and they'll drink your milkshakes. So we just have to wait for our capitalists to start investing ourselves. We can, expand here, but what would happen is if we expanded and built more food industries in Sindh, again, they would be owned by our government, and then they almost certainly have an excess of investment pool just kind of sitting there, because this is how the AI always plays. The AI is not, full throttle constructing as much as possible, and if they did, it wouldn't be so bad, but we cannot build in there, and so we just kind of have to tolerate it, and we'll be building into this, but hopefully we can make good use of stuff like the bankroll we're receiving from France, which is scaling based on our tax level, which is why we want to keep taxes absolutely 100% max this entire time, so that we can siphon off as much money from France as possible. Right now it's not a tremendous amount, but it is enough to act as a very, very strong stimulus to our economy. You see, we are making 140k like in terms of income, and so what this represents is about 16% of our income without it, which is an enormous amount. And so this is a free stimulus. You can see construction's just absolutely ballooned up in the past couple months, because we've just been adding a ton of construction, and we swapped onto steel frame buildings. As far as tech goes, pops are forever going to be a problem for us, so we're going to go into feminism. But since we are going for the tank achievement, we're probably going to emphasize military tech earlier and more than normal. We were thinking that modern nursing was going to be super, or where's the one that gives luxurious supplies? Military statistics was going to be super sweet, because France has to pay for the army, but since the army has been cut in half, it's definitely not a French army still, but it's also definitely a whole lot smaller. Also, it seems like we can't use this army at all if France isn't mobilized, and so it does seem a little bit conditional. Unfortunately, we can't really help them out with this. I don't think there's any war goals on France in this war. They were just helping someone else out that the UK was attacking. Ooh, liberate French Senegal, just kidding. So they are fighting for Senegal here, and Senegal does appear to be occupied. I think they still need to occupy France, though, because I still think because the overlord mechanic thing is a little bit silly. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. So, in terms of our law passing right now, we really truly have, like, the most convenient guy possible, which is the corporatist industrialist. Notably, the corporatist overrides almost all of the laws that you don't like on the industrialist kind of base, and you're just left with the most based kind of interest group total in terms of what they support, because, okay, they still oppose Council Republic, but they don't care about any of these laws. As far as education system goes, they like public schools, so they no longer have the bias towards private schools. They like regulatory bodies, so they know they will actually help you pass them, and they like wage subsidies. Now, they don't like old age pension, but the thing is these are specifically with the schools and also the labor rights. These are normally things that you have to pass through the industrialists, and with the corporatist industrialists, you can definitely pass them with them. However, we are maintaining and not. We would be inviting agitators, this type of stuff. But we want to maintain all of our cooldowns, despite us having guys like, this cautious boyo over here, who we would love to have a cautious guy. But we're maintaining our cooldowns because we are going after kind of early feminism here. That way we can pull in as many migrants as possible. And we're also just going to be chilling for the time being, much like that guy going out for a joyride, because we are kind of waiting to get this compulsory primary school and also workers' old age pension, I think we're going to go for. And the corporatist, he is just going to love it. And so we are really getting in our laws quite quickly, and we are pretty institution heavy. We're going to look to add and upgrade these institutions, specifically colonial affairs. I think eventually we're going to put that in for our power block, but we won't have to worry about that for some time, because we are having trouble generating mandate. But we want to upgrade some of this other stuff too, home affairs as well, although we're still kind of in the mode where we do want to be abdicating, so we do need to generate enough radicalism so that we can actually utilize the abdication, but I suppose we're wanting to abdicate not because we hate what we're on, but because we really want to move on to parliamentary republic. We could just pass monarchy, though, and then from monarchy, just pass parliamentary republic. This is also something that we could do pretty easily, and maybe we'll do that. Alright, so it's getting increasingly more difficult to sway for a bankroll, and I really think they're going to kill it next patch, or sway for a bankroll when you particularly have a very large economy, which, to be fair, our economy is not absolutely enormous, but we were able to kind of secure via yo-yo sway an opportunity to sway for a bankroll here in order to make sure that we had a large enough score from military power of Finland here. What we did is we swapped off of our decree in Uisma, specifically the Promote Social Mobility decree, which, by the way, has been outstanding. Uisma, we were just taking a look at this kind of when we because we were swapping off of something just to evaluate how good it is. A little over a third of our pop is here in Uisma, and so this for us represents, over 8% of our literacy, effectively, because we've been doing this from the start of the game, is coming from this edict alone, which is giving us a bit of, innovation generation. Our cap, we haven't hit our cap yet. We are probably going to turn towards doing that shortly once we get around 200 construction. But what we did is we swapped off of this, at least on a temporary basis, so that we could put in enlistment efforts and really get as many conscripts as possible, because in terms of looking at the military, they do evaluate the conscripts, and then we will just ask for that handy dandy bankroll. They will say yes, and now we will be in excellent shape, because with this bankroll, we will be getting an income of another 25k. Now notice, kind of last check-in, this was 21k or 20k. This is facilitating us expanding construction. I think we were at like 50 when we got the bankroll from France. Now we're at 150, and so we're going to add construction, and as we add construction and we increase the size of our economy, you can see we're starting to pop off a little bit here. When we increase the size of our economy, they will have to pay us more because they pay based on our tax. And so this is going to be really, really sharp and nice that we are getting 2 bankrolls right now. So we are going to be in excellent shape to just really pop off very, very hard. I was not thinking we were going to get into bankroll territory for some time. I think this is definitely not a French army. It's definitely counting towards our military, even though we can't mobilize it and utilize it unless France is also at war. Apparently, not exactly sure how this bug is working. But this is going to be really good for us. And in addition to this, America is going to love us, because what's going to happen is it's going to give us ticking positive relations. You can see our relations aren't moving, but if we take a look at France, we are getting a ton of things giving us ticking positive relations. Namely, this bankroll is giving us ticking positive relations, the improved relations, the trade agreement. In fact, are we really improving relations with them, or are they improving with... Okay, we don't need to be spending our diplo that way, but... Also, while we're at it, why don't we just check in on the GDP ownership? We have had investment rights in France for some time now, and we are starting to acquire more and more percentage of their economy, which is going to be good for us. 6% here, a little 7% here, a little... America owns some there, 2.4, not a kind of lion's share, but I think that if you are going to get investment rights in someone and you're going to let your construction build there, and to be fair, this is probably not optimal, because if we take a look at, like, let's say Burgundy, I think we own some of these levels of this stuff, and if we take a look at the weekly balance, they are not very efficient in the sense that wages are getting most of the excess value, and look at that iron price. Ugh. We should import it. What the hell? So it's not efficient for our construction to be building here, but this is just kind of something we wanted to explore, and if there ever was someone to do it with, it would be them, but we're just going to import the iron if they're going to be doing that. We are exporting iron to some other people, but we'll just be more than happy to arbitrage it, because I think a lot of what we own in their kind of in the foreign ownership is actually iron mines and stuff like this. And so we see we have quite a big of section of iron. No, wait, this is Uisma. This is located abroad? Is that... Oh, that's where our ownership is. So our ownership in Uisma, we own some iron mines in Lorraine, and this is going to be... I think we own these iron mines too. We own these iron mines, and so this is going to be a big chunk of what we own, in addition to owning some logging camps in some other places. But this is going to be something we keep an eye on. I don't think it's good, but I just wanted to test it out and see exactly what happens, because we are making use of... we forgot to emphasize the thing to emphasize. We are making use of the fact that the French interest group for the Industrialists, which aren't happy right now, so it's not really actually being useful, they do have state construction efficiency. So you utilize the other person's state construction efficiency, and because France has so much, investing money into France specifically is going to be better than it will be in another nation, because you will effectively get 20% more buildings, for your investment. Just to emphasize, we are letting our auto queue build in France, If we were to build in France ourselves, the problem would be that the buildings would be put up to be purchased by anyone, and when we let the private queue build, then they cannot buy the buildings because they are already owned. And so this is a very important distinction. We are not actively building anything in France. We just acquired investment rights, and we're letting our private investors invest in France. And so we don't have the control to be able to really gain a ton of leverage in France, or really, really crank up in France, much like how we wish we had the leverage to do that in some of our subjects so we could increase their economic dependence. We can't. We just have to wait for the auto queue to decide to build in these places. Ecuador is also someone we've kind of wanted to go after because they have decent resources, and we are trying to acquire subjects that are recognized for our power block, generation of mandate, and we haven't been able to go after Ecuador because the USA would side against us. However, we're just going to stay in this play with them on our side, and much like UK last episode, if we are in the same play as them, they cannot join against us. Also, I think that we're just not going to help them out here, because we'd rather Mexico win this, and we'll just see our own way out, but we will take the bag with us, because we are getting this 25k bankroll now. Somehow the USA is actually incapable of winning this war, it looks like, which is very much why maybe they were willing to give us a bankroll in the first place. Must feel real bad paying out 25k for basically zero help here. We also do get a movement. Alright, well, our Intelligentsia is out of government here. What we could do is we could abdicate to them, or we could go monarchy and then use our monarchy abdication cooldown, because that's not currently used. In fact, oscillating between monarchy and some sort of parliamentary presidential republic is probably worth it. We could also just go to monarchy and then from monarchy pass back to, not pass back to there, but from monarchy pass back to parliamentary republic directly if we wanted. This is kind of a strange play pattern where there's no way to get from presidential to parliamentary, and sometimes, I'm not 100% sure what the driver is, sometimes when you abdicate, they do not, when you abdicate, they do not switch on to parliamentary from presidential, and sometimes they do. I'm not 100% sure. If they like presidential more, they won't swap, but I believe that if you abdicate to the Intelligentsia pretty consistently, it will do this, but not always. So these guys, see, they do prefer presidential republic to parliamentary republic, so these guys, it's not going to work for them. I thought it was... We've definitely abdicated our way into a parliamentary republic before. Alright, so we passed monarchy, now having some regrets. Now, it's not the end of the world. We got Mr. Carlson, because we weren't particularly... We were planning on just getting off of it right away, and so we weren't particularly upfront about or proactive about making sure that we got a really good ruler. This guy's fine, he's charismatic. It's not that big a deal, but charismatic makes him very popular, so there's a ton of clout on the petite bourgeoisie. Okay, well, fine, sure. He doesn't have an heir, so we actually can't abdicate with him yet. So I guess we're going to be monarchy for a little bit, but it's not too bad because we're also righteous, and the petite bourgeoisie is not the worst interest group, to be forced to have in government. We can make several other interests. We can do a lot here and have people be happy. In particular, I think the trade unionists having an authoritarian was a big responsibility for their party, the People's Party, having a bit of a come-up. To be fair, the Intelligentsia also wants to be in the People's Party as well here. And so what we're going to be doing now in terms of the politics is we are going to be rolling and looking for specifically an Intelligentsia or a trade unionist guy, and we were hoping to do this after the abdication because we were hoping to get an enormous amount of clout on the Intelligentsia or the trade unionists following an abdication. But we were going to look for one of these guys who's a humanitarian because we have finished researching feminism. So now we can roll humanitarians, and we can use that to try and pass the multiculturalism law, which will allow us to try and get more and more people to come to Finland, of course. We want people here so that they can work here, so that we don't have to spend a bunch of convoys elsewhere. And to be fair, people are coming to Finland, and to be also further fair, we do have peasants, so we can continue to build here. We are really building up Tall and Nuisma, and I think we did make a point earlier about our decree and how it was giving us on 1/3 of our population, but I just realized that, literacy is based on your incorporated population, and we only have 5.6 million incorporated, so that means this promote social mobility is applying to closer to 2/3 of our country, and so this is really generating for us a lot of education access, somewhere in the neighborhood of the high teens in terms of education access, which is going to allow us to research faster. We currently still haven't hit our cap yet. I think we have a little bit more in there, but we are going to have to start turning and burning a little bit, because we do have a research-oriented goal for the run, which is we have to get to tanks, and so we're not like turning the corner yet, because this is super far off, but we don't want to be behind in tech, and we want to get to the point where we're ahead a little bit earlier than we otherwise would, because the goal of the run is getting the Finland achievement, which requires us to be producing 100 tanks. So we find our boy in the form of Petter Bremer. He is an admiral that we recruited. He is our only popular Intelligentsia admiral or general, so when we exile the leader, what we are going to end up getting is we are going to be getting him. And incidentally, Enlightened Royalist is kind of an interesting one, because they actually endorse monarchy, so we're not going to be able to get off of monarchy usually utilizing the Intelligentsia after this, so I guess we will be stuck in on monarchy for at least a little bit, but we do want to pass multiculturalism, which he will endorse, and he's only 37, so he'll be kicking around for a while, and he wouldn't make a terrible leader, but that's not how monarchy works now, is it? It's going to be whoever's next in line, so that is what it is. But what we're going to do is we are going to exile this jingoist, and when we exile him, what we will get replaced with is whoever is the most popular of the... Actually, I think it's a weighted roll, but weighted really heavily towards the most popular person. But if there's only one popular person, they always get in, with the exception if you have a historic character, which we as Sweden don't have a historic character for this. And so we will be able to immediately swap the Intelligentsia in, and we will be able to go for the multiculturalism. Now, we have a lot of parties that oppose it, so this is perhaps a little bit of a problem, but these parties are really happy because they were a fan of us going on a monarchy. So we will go for multiculturalism here. But definitely not a French army is becoming less and less French with every passing revolution. Truly, France has found a strategy to rake back their stolen troops, which of course is very sad. Now, I think that we want to help out France, unless France or the French capitalist revolt. Politically speaking, we'd rather help out the French capitalist revolt, but practically speaking, this France, the other France, is bankrolling us, so I think we are leaning towards supporting them in either situation. We're just going to let a few ticks happen here, and then if, no one too scary joins, we're just going to come in here. And we are going to, continue our friendship here, which will be much to the delight of our interest group. I think that, let's put the definitely not a French army in there too. I think that this does please the Flemish-French Friendship Committee, or the Finnish-French Friendship Committee. It doesn't. Bro, we side with them on a war? That's not one of the things. Forming an alliance, forming a defensive pact, forming a mutual investment. Oh, Jesus. That's crazy. Well, maybe there's also a decent way to abuse that too. We do not have investment rights anymore from them, so we're kind of locked in on whatever percent we had. And just kind of wanted to review over here. I think what happens is they actually don't have any of the land that the EIC/Bengal has to release. I don't think they have it incorporated, because now everything's quite a bit more expensive. If we want to go for these guys, can we not go for them right now? But in any case, the thing to showcase is, look at all the guys that are in the Finnish market. Now, the Finnish market has very little market access, and this is going to be a continued problem of port connections. That's actually just a bug. It's going to right itself. I think if we just let the game think for a second. Right? Even if it's... this should be a bug, but even without it being bugged, we will be having to spend a lot on port connections, so this is going to be kind of a continued problem. But you can also see that both Mysore and Nagpur annexed the revolutions that they were having when we initially went after them, and so we did get kind of a majority of India here for relatively low cost. A majority is probably not correct, actually, in terms of population, just geographically a majority. But it's now, the finished East India Company. And with that, I think we're going to conclude the episode. Had a little bit of some interesting things going on. We continue to go after this. Most critically, I think the bankrolls are going to be a huge driver of our ability to continue popping off. I think that in terms of, sometimes people ask me a question like, why does your run look so much different than mine? Why are you able to do this like crazy stuff? And really, it's hard to emphasize how powerful bankrolls are, and just playing in such a way to maximize opportunities for bankrolls, like having an interest in France just for the purpose of when they rev, you can sway for a bankroll. This is really strong. And to be fair, we're actually not playing optimally this run because we have an alliance with France, because we're kind of being memey, and the alliance with France, prevents us from joining stuff like the French capitalist revolt, or prevents us from doing yo-yo sways to try and get bankroll from France. So this is not optimal, but we have a bankroll from them anyways, so I suppose it doesn't matter too much. But this is, in terms of income, this is giving us 70k, which is, if we less 70k from this, we would be getting 180k without that. And so, that's 40% of our income increased. That's 40% more horsepower on your loud car outside. And so, it's so hard to emphasize, how powerful this is, and how this warps the metagame. I think a lot of people on my video where I talked about which principles I thought were best were not anywhere near as bullish on external trade as I am, and it's literally just for, on the higher levels of external trade, the influential trade center, which allows you to get more influence, and the influence you use to create opportunities for bankrolls, and definitely expecting to see this get nerfed, in which case it'll be much harder to be as loud outside, kind of with your economy, because the bankrolls won't be going so hard. And so this might be the last run we have, considering the next patch, we are going to be hearing an update about it on Thursday, depending on when this releases. The next patch, I think that they are going to do away with your ability to really, really go hard in the paint. We're not going super hard in the paint yet. I think you'll still be able to do this, but when your economy is bigger than the person bankrolling you, that's kind of a problem and a strangeness. To be fair, our economy is bigger than theirs is right now. France's is right now, but that's just because they're having a rev. The USA's economy is still going to be much, much bigger than ours. Ours just has a better line in terms of shape. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do the YouTube algorithm thing. And other than that, have a good one.